Hello, baby. We've returned.
Yeah, we will be singing this episode. Go, jeez.
Yeah. Okay. Action.
I guess we'll start then.
Rolling one. What are you laughing at?
Wow.
Good. That's what I was aiming for.
Hi everybody and welcome to episode 15 of Knights at the Round Table.
15?
I think so.
Wow.
I don't know, I haven't been counting, I'm trusting you, it's just impressive.
That sounds great.
Yeah, because I think episode 14 is when I just uploaded. It better be
14.
episode 15.
Sure,
We'll
it's
do a
episode
take.
15.
Hi everybody and welcome to episode 14 of Knights at the Round Table. Today we are discussing the book Wrinkle in Time by Madeleine Langle. See, that's how I would have pronounced it because it looks French to me.
It does.
It's an apostrophe.
This is a story about a family of kids who go looking for their father who has been messing around with time travel. And
The way one does.
that's all I'm going to say about it because I don't want to give too much away. We'll start with general impressions of the book. Start with you.
Well, I've read it many times. many times. So it's kind of, my first initial impression was when I was like 6. And it was a little difficult to get through, but it was very interesting and all that. And rereading it again, it was very difficult to get to, but very interesting.
Fair enough. Jasmine?
I also read this book when I was like somewhere in the 8 to 10 range. And I read it, I think my dad read it to me because he's very into physics and the whole, he's kind of a lot like the father in the book. I feel like if he had the means to test her, then he would be long gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was able to explain everything to me, anything I didn't understand as we were going along reading it. So I loved it. I just thought it was brilliant. The whole explanation of how to test her, where it's like, you know, you have the piece of
Did you
string.
have the drawing in the book?
Yes.
Me
There's
too.
this beautiful drawing. Where is it? It's I think it's in chapter 5. Basically, it's, you know, you have this little sketch of, you know, if you have a piece of fabric like this, and you have an ant on one hand, it's going to take them quite a while to walk across to the other hand. But if you just bring them together, then the ant is there almost instantly. And you know, you can do that with space and time, and then you're there. And so, based on that explanation, I was like, oh, if that's all there is to quantum physics, then I'm a genius. I got my career sorted out.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, I was really let down when I got to high school. I'm like, wait, this is physics?
This makes no sense.
Why is it so much more complicated? Mrs. Watson explained it so much better when I was 10.
Yep.
But my general impressions of the book, I really liked it. I really liked the story. Maybe it's just because the dad reminded me so much of my dad. I felt like I identified with the family. I identified a fair amount with Meg in terms of, you know,
Feeling
hating the way
left
she
out.
looked and messy hair and not fitting in and glasses and braces and the whole 9 yards and being left out and geeky weird family who other people kind of laughed at and the possible minor anger issues. I got all that part, but then, you know, as the book went on, she just cried too much. Like, oh, pull it together, woman. Get a grip. Yeah.
Very whiny.
But yeah, Charles Wallace reminded me of my, like, kind of a combination of my little sisters. You know, the absurd precociousness of the one and just the intensely frustrating reasonableness of the other one. I'm like, why are you acting more mature than I am? You're 4. So, you know. So yeah.
For me, this is the first time I've read it. I'm not huge on young adult, so this is coming from a slightly biased place. I think it was an alright story, but it suffered a lot from some of the typical things that young adult books suffer from me, which is going from 0 to 100 in the space of 3 words. For example, I would have found Calvin really interesting, if he had struggled more with his identity like normal kids were. He's like, yeah, I'm pretending to be all popular and sporty and everything's awesome. My home life sucks and I'm feeling really left out and I feel isolated and weird. He just accepts everything that happens as okay. Oh yeah, sure, I'll just go along with this. But to me, I feel like if you were trying so hard to not be what you were when you were faced with everything that you are, you would fight against it a bit more. And it's just his general, okay, sure, now everything makes sense, I'm happy now. I was just, I don't like. And also, it felt overly preachy as well.
In what sense?
In the inclusion of a very Abrahamic way of looking at divinity, like the inclusion of God, which I don't mind so much, but it's always with the he rather than
Right.
it, or and I
Well, to be fair, there was another it.
There was
You didn't want to mix things up with.
Well, that was a capital it, right? Which I kept reading as IT. We're going to go see IT. What does information technology have to do with any of this?
Why wouldn't you want to party with
There's
Moss and
no
Roy?
periods there. I would notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it struggled a bit to be relatable, I think.
It's funny because it was only flipping through it again this time that I noticed the God stuff in this one. I don't remember that at all from the first readings of it, which I guess, I was young enough that it all kind of just worked for my age range.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, yeah, because I have read them all the Time Quartet, in which there are 5 books. There are 5, because then there were the 4, and then she threw in that extra one. Well, but some of them aren't technically the Time Quartet, except for one about Polly.
That's not part of the quartet. It's a secondary set of.
I always thought it was, but then a lot of times it seems like the 5th book of the Time Quartet, I've seen it labeled that way.
It shouldn't be.
Yeah.
They're doing it wrong.
It bothers me.
they cannot count.
Exactly. But the only
in the Douglas Adams books.
Oh yes, well that's a trilogy of 5. Because Douglas Adams is wonderful. He can get away with stuff like that. No, but I don't. Many Waters is definitely religious. It's a retelling of the Noah's Ark. But the other ones, I don't remember there being any God involvement.
I don't remember it in Wind in the Door, but in Swiftly Tilting Planet and this one, I do remember.
Was it supposed to be? I don't remember Swiftly Tilting Planet at all. But Wind in the Door, I don't remember. I just remember the dragon.
Cherubim.
Yeah, that. I wrote a fanfic about him in grade 5. Before I knew what a fanfic was, I was writing fanfiction. I still have it. It's in an old Lisa Frank notebook.
I would love to read that.
It was pretty awesome. My teacher thought it was so awesome she made me read it out loud to my 5th grade class.
We need
That's awesome!
We need to do a dramatic reading.
We have to!
No, we don't.
I volunteer.
I second the motion.
Carried. Oh. Yeah. Okay, well, we'll work on that. If I can find it. Maybe it's suddenly burned.
I'll find it.
Good luck. Yeah, but it is one of those things that I think my brain definitely did some selective editing on the book through the passage of time, which I was okay with because it kept all the best parts and the parts that I didn't think were as strong just kind of slipped away.
Well, that happens, I think, with all of your favorite childhood reads.
Yeah.
That's why I'm fairly certain that's why I love Oversea Under Stone so much.
Well, Oversea Under Stone was a rainbow.
Like, it was.
I thought so.
The rest of the series, not so much.
Well, yeah, it's based on your recommendation, or lack of. I haven't read them.
Yeah, don't go that.
Yeah, but I do think that this was one that even I mean, there are some books that I've gone back to and reread that have been childhood favorites that I've been disappointed by, and this was not one of them, luckily.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed things that I didn't remember that I was like, oh, meh, skip. But overall, I think it still held its own pretty well.
I reacted the same way.
Yeah, go team.
Do either of you have any radial issues with the book that...
Meg was really whiny.
Yeah.
But I kind of understand why, because nobody told her anything.
How old was she supposed to be? 16? 13. Okay. Yeah. No,
Like, oh, we'll explain later. We'll explain later. We'll explain later. Just go and rescue your father. It's like...
Yeah, but even, I mean, she just... Yeah, Meg was really my biggest issue, which bothered me because I really wanted to identify with her more, because that's why you read books, right? Because there are characters you identify with and you get invested in, and I was just like, Meg, shut up.
I identified with her a lot when I was little. Even with the whining.
Reading it, I know people who would identify with her, and people who have this idea of the father figure is completely infallible and
Well, yeah.
fix
My dad
everything.
is infallible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mine isn't. He's human. It's like everybody else.
My
And
dad's
they
not
have
human.
they have their flaws.
I think my dad is Loki.
Ooh.
Just thought.
That's actually kind of upsetting.
I will not say what I thought.
Are you an eight-legged horse?
Yeesh. Not one of the other ones.
Okay.
So you're hell?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Fairy Wars by Herbie Brennan. We have to put that in there. Hell reminded me.
Next time.
Hell
Yeah.
with one L, by the way.
Yes, but you know what I mean. Yeah, but no, like I was saying, I identified with a lot of her character, but then she just cried so much. Everything's making her cry, and okay, taking this past week out of the equation, because I did a lot of weird random crying this past week,
But
but
you've had a shitty week.
well, yeah, but slash year. But outside of that, I'm really not a big crier. I cry at movies. I don't cry at real life, and the amount of time that Meg spent like bursting into tears and yelling for other people to help her, and it's like
Having a tantrum.
having
again.
tantrums and
See, I know people like that though.
yeah, they bug me in real life too. I'm like,
Yeah, they
get
bug
a
me.
grip.
They bug me too.
Yeah,
I know
so
children like that, so...
well, exactly. That's the thing. She was acting like a 4-year-old.
I know
Well,
adults.
Charles Wallace wasn't, so...
No, again.
Charles Wallace, and I was talking to this privately, but Charles Wallace is such a precocious child that as I was reading him and some of his sassier moments, it was Stewie's head from the Family Guy, Stewie's voice from the Family Guy in my head. And so every time I read Charles Wallace, I was like, Mummy, 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 Mom, Mother, in my head. And I could not stop hearing Stewie every time Charles Wallace spoke. I'm like, oh God, no, stop it. You've ruined me, pop culture.
Yeah, I did not.
I don't watch Family Guy, so
okay,
he's not really, like...
I don't really either, but Stewie's kind of just one of those iconic characters that...
Yeah.
I know who he is, but...
Yeah, no, he's such a combination of my two little sisters that it's like, I did like Meg's protectiveness of her, even if, you know, she didn't really realize that he was doing more protecting of her than the other way around. But, you know, she tried. So I appreciated that. And I do just remember when I was little, such a crush on Calvin.
He was such a one-dimensional character.
So? He was perfect.
He was,
Oh.
I loved him. I loved him. See, I've always had a thing for the redheads. What can I say? It's the way it is.
Sandy and Dennis were blondes.
Yeah, that's true. But, you know, they had their own charm.
They were very smooth talkers in many waters.
They were, even if they were kind of incompetent at the beginning, you know,
Well.
dying of sunburn and dehydration.
Have you ever been dropped in the middle of the desert? I haven't. I wouldn't know what to do.
What you don't do is you don't interfere with something that says experiment in progress, do not touch, when your parents are crazy time traveler experimenters.
I thought they didn't see the note.
Oh, well, they saw it again. They saw it too late. Didn't they see it like right as they were,
Leaving?
as the time was starting to whirl around, and they were like, oh crap, there's a sign saying we shouldn't have done this. And then they died. But yeah, I love Charles Wallace, and I love Calvin, and I love the Mrs. W's.
I like
They were,
Mrs. W.
I think that was one of the things that endeared me to Calvin was how he and Mrs. Who were quoting The Tempest, which is my favorite Shakespeare play. So I was like, and you're mine. But yeah, I loved the quotes. I learned a lot of quotes from this book.
Yeah.
Last time I read it. Learned a lot of math, a lot of physics.
It definitely helped me understand a little bit about physics, but then grade 11 physics just
Just got rid of all that. The other thing was, did you guys see the heroes versus villains bracket on Book Riot in March? It was to counteract. It was, for people who don't follow March Madness basketball. Basically, they took a whole bunch of classic heroes, classic villains, and you voted and narrowed it down to the final death match.
So it was like fantasy football, but for reading.
Yeah, but with characters, not teams. Or not books.
That's cool.
It was fantastic. My sister and I spent like 2 hours coming up with our ultimate bracket, and we debated the shit out of it. And one of the characters on the villain side was It. And I think the final, or I don't remember who got rid of It. It didn't make it through to our finals, but It did beat Moby Dick. That was one of our. We had It beating Moby Dick because it could just control the whale's brain and force it to stop breathing or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mind control definitely, like, I felt the terror that the kids felt in this book. Like,
Yeah. The
she
kid who was
described
bouncing
it
the ball out of rhythm and then was,
Screaming.
It was yeah, it was like the most terrifying villain.
And like I
For a long
understand
time.
what it means for like your heartbeat and your breath to take like
I fought
to
against
take
that
on
for so
a
long.
beat.
I'd be walking to
from-
school and I'd be like breathing irregularly. My mom's like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't want it to get me."
But like even now, like I can feel the beat of a song and it, like my heart starts beating to it and I start breathing to it and it's like
This is how it starts. Real Camazotz. Yeah,
it could so easily we could become Camazotz. It's scary.
yeah.
Very realistic.
Yeah.
She
In that
did do
way.
a really good job of describing things, I have to say.
Yeah, I do really like her writing style.
Yes, her style is very nice. I was really fond of Aunt Beast.
Yeah.
Aunt Beast was
And-
so lovely.
Yeah, and her fellows who
Yeah.
couldn't see, so they didn't understand the world in terms of vision.
And
But because they couldn't understand the world in terms of vision, everything was more understandable. Does it make any sense?
Well, yeah,
It
and
makes
they
sense
thought
to me if
seeing
you-
was so limiting.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Seeing
I
is
said, no, it's so
limiting.
wonderful. She's like, it doesn't sound that wonderful. No, why do you need it?
Yeah.
But they could like understand what things are.
Rather
Yes.
than just see.
In a more real sense than what
Yeah.
they just look like.
That
Yeah.
part blew my mind when I was little.
Yeah,
like,
because I'd never
there's
thought of things
another
that way.
sense. Like, whoa!
Yeah, you realize how much you rely on sight.
Yeah. I very much appreciated
Yeah.
that about the books. That was really, really, really
Yeah.
book.
One of the other characters I loved was the happy medium.
Oh,
I
just even the happy medium.
Yeah, I did
Just even the name, the happy medium.
I just thought that was such a fantastic little flash of comedy in an otherwise fairly serious book.
I also like that they called it the happiest sadist to make it even like to bring it back to that and make it seem like to tie it all in. I guess it was kind of creepy.
Other than the whole God thing, which I had an issue with, I really liked the message of the story, or the messages of the story. One, that parents are just human beings and they're not infallible and they make mistakes sometimes and they're not going to be able to fix everything for you. You have to stand up on your own 2 feet.
And stop crying for 5 seconds.
And two, that love is the ultimate
Power.
yeah. That
It's very like
it can save pretty much everything.
it's like the lesson of Harry Potter.
a little bit, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. No, that I did like that part too. And I just remember the first time I was reading it, that line, and that was where it made its fatal mistake.
I was like, yeah! And I didn't quite understand it because I was very young.
It
But
took me a few. I was like,
this time I was like,
there it is. Yeah.
I know what I did.
And then I don't know, it was that image of Charles Wallace crying and running towards her. I think I ran out and went and hugged my little sister and was like, I love you too, I'll save you. It's okay. And they're like, you're drunk. I'm like, I'm 10. But yeah, I did like that. It was quite lovely.
Yes. So the message of the book was very, very good, but I think it fell down with all
The stuff.
all the overt and sometimes really preachy God stuff. But
Which kind of the message of God is love. So it kind of makes sense.
it is now, though. We could argue about that based on stories.
My experience.
Yes, that's what they teach, right?
Yes. I do think it.
But there are ways to do it without making it quite so
Yes.
Abrahamic.
I agree with you.
Yes. But yeah, I do. I think I do have a lot of love for this book because this was really the first. This was my introduction to sci-fi.
Yeah.
Pretty much, which was it was a good introduction.
Yeah.
It has led to great things in my life. Which all of which my dad is taking credit for because it was really.
Well, he introduced you to Star Trek.
He introduced me to everything pretty much.
He is a parent.
He's a parent.
It's usually the parents that introduce.
Yeah, it was his duty in life to turn me into a geek, and he has succeeded, and he's very proud of that. But this was the first sci-fi I read, and I love it. I still love it.
Agreed.
It was alright.
Whatever, you're outvoted. This is the best book ever.
You're not into
I thought you
YA.
said that about the Phantom Tollbooth.
I say that about everything. I love things. I'm a very happy person. Why is everyone laughing at me?
Because you said it so angrily.
Well, I'm very happy. No one can take away my joy.
It can.
I'd like to see it try.
Okay, so then, on that note, out of 5 stars.
4.
I agree. Definitely a 4. It's not like the best book, but it's very good. I liked it.
I feel like it holds together well with the pros outweigh the cons. Enough. Yeah, you're wrong. You're outvoted.
I gave it a 2.5.
Wow.
You have no taste.
It was
In young adults.
in young adult.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I was going to Stone's young adult, and I really love that. But I didn't find it that way though.
But you're wrong.
Well,
Yeah.
whatever. 2.5 stars for me. I think for a very young reader, like between 6 and 10, it would be a brilliant book for them. But for anybody who's looking for a little more sophistication, which you can get out of young adult books, you can, I tell you.
You can.
This is not the book for you.
Well, I mean, it depends on your reading level.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I mean for a young reader, for like 6 to 10. Otherwise,
No, but I mean, not. I wouldn't recommend it for all 6 to 10-year-olds. I think it is. I think there's enough to it that you can read it
when you're older.
when you're a preteen and still appreciate it. Like, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I probably would have liked it a lot more had I read it when I was much younger. But as of now, it's just not my cup of tea.
Well, you say that about all the young adults.
I
That
do
you
not.
didn't read
That I
when you
didn't
were
read when I was a
little.
young
Yeah.
adult. No, I liked The Hunger Games more or less. It was alright.
A ringing endorsement.
That's the most recent young adult I can think that I've read.
You need to read Divergent.
I haven't read Divergent. I heard it's good.
As someone who reads a lot of young adults, almost exclusively young adults, I think this is one of the better ones.
I will defer, but it's still a 2.5 for me. Okay, who wants to pick the next one?
Jen does.
Yes, I did.
Oh, bugger.
It just picked itself.
I want to. I'm excited. Is that only one?
Yes, that is the only one.
Fortunately, the Milk by Neil Gaiman.
Yay! I heard this was really good.
It is very good.
And I like Neil Gaiman's style, so hopefully it'll be good.
Well, I don't know. You didn't read it when you you were kids, so.
Yeah, so there may be a few issues. Okay.
How many people die in it? Does everybody get killed off and is it horrible?
Nobody dies.
Oh yeah, you're gonna hate it.
Nobody dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to know. Right. Next week we'll be discussing The Crow, so stick around for that. If you like this episode, please like and subscribe. You can read along with us on Goodreads. I'll post a link down below. If you have any suggestions for the books or films you want to read, you can reach us on Twitter.
I'd like to see suggestions for films to read.
Well, we'll get the screenplay.
God damn it, I was doing so well. Tweet us at SilverStag with the hashtag NATRT, film if it's a film, NATRT book if it's a book, or leave a comment down below. And that's everything. So we'll see you next week. Bye!
You're in charge.
You would think so.